Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, closes out the main series story arc with a finale that's been, at least to say, mixedly received. Now, I call it the final part in the Thorn trilogy, which was started in part 4, because anybody that's heard John Carpenter talk about the original knows that Michael Myers was meant to be more of a force and a mystery. You don't know why he kills. Well, in part 6, it explains. And 6 has a funny history about its release. And it was released in a different version. The theatrical version is more rock and roll and straightforward slasher, and there was a lot of contention between the director and the producers and the writers, and there's always a rumor of this producer's cut that fleshed out the story a little bit more, because honestly the theatrical cut just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because it feels like there's this giant piece of the puzzle missing. And really, that version of the film is not very good. It's a giant mess. I do like it more than part 5, but part 5 at least had a overall good and constant story, whereas the theatrical version of 6 feels like it's missing a piece of the puzzle, as I said. And the producer's cut, which came out officially a couple of years ago, debuting in this box set, was given to fans for the first time on Blu-ray, and to me it is a better film. It's a more complete story. It tells the story that the producers originally wanted, and throughout interviews with people involved with this film, it's never clear whose fault it is exactly. It's either the director's fault or the producer's fault, and one will say, well, we wanted to go with this, and the other will say, no, that's what I wanted to go with. They were the one that messed with my vision. And the truth is, we may never really know for sure who it was that decided the theatrical version was the one that needed to be put into theaters. And to me, the producer's cut just kind of goes for it. It takes this Thorn cult story that was kind of started in 4 and more so brought out in 5, this Thorn cult. And basically the story is, there's this cult called the Thorn that believes that the world is coming to an end, that there's constant fighting, famine, and war, and it's caused by some sort of imbalance in the stars that happens every Halloween. And the only way to stop this, or to at least make it better or from getting worse, is to sacrifice a family. So essentially Michael Myers at age 10 is picked out by the Thorn to kill his family, and this is why he comes back every Halloween to do so, because he's essentially cursed by this cult, and he's basically a pawn in their game. And to me, that realization for the original series is a mixed bag. I always thought Michael Myers was scarier when he was just this force of nature. That's why I like to view the films as 2 separate paths. You got the original, which is a film contained within its own, but I feel like I can also watch it as part of the 5 film series from 1 to 4, 5, and 6. And I call that the Thorn series. And you can watch it like that and enjoy it for what it is. But to me, the fact that Michael can be subdued by runes and magic just doesn't sit well with me. It makes the character not as scary, and I think this film has better characters than some of the other sequels. I like the Strodes in this film for the most part, and for some reason their dad, who is this giant douchebag, has decided to buy the Michael Myers house and move into because they got it for a really low price. And gee, I wonder why. And the main character, Kara, has a son named Danny, and she has to juggle being a single mother that's kind of living with her parents. And while her mother is nice, again, like I said, her father's a gigantic douchebag, and she has to deal with her son who is having these really bad nightmares. And it turns out that he's hearing this voice, the same voice apparently that Michael heard all those years ago, and it's the voice of the man in black who is the leader of the Thorn cult. He's the one that pulls all the strings and orchestrates everything. And again, Donald Pleasance returns in this, and he's retired at the beginning of the film. He's very happy. It's strange to see Loomis as this happy and this free individual, but the second that he learns Michael Myers is back, he goes back to his old habits. He just snaps back into the Loomis that we all know and love, and he's just ready to go back into action. And the film really does the character justice, and I love how it ends, because to me it makes sense to his whole story arc and his obsession with Michael Myers, and how there was almost a strange, almost friendship and understanding between the two of them, but at the same time there was also this mutual hatred that brought them to face off against each other. That's not really there in the theatrical cut. There's more of Donald Pleasance in the producer's cut, and in my opinion, more Donald Pleasance is always great. So overall, The Curse of Michael Myers, it's not an amazing film, but it's probably my favorite. The Thorn trilogy, I think there are some suspenseful moments, and Kara Strode is pretty good. By the way, Tommy Doyle reappears in this film, and I love what they do with him. He's played by Paul Rudd, who has his on-screen debut in this role, and he's sort of this scarred, obsessed individual. I mean, why wouldn't he be? Some people think that his performance in this film is a little wooden, but I think it's done mostly on purpose. He's really awkward, and I mean, he went through this trauma as a kid, who was terrified as the boogeyman, and then actually met the boogeyman. So I think it fits, and I like the fact that his bedroom is just covered in articles about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode and Haddonfield and Halloween, and that he knows all these things about the Thorn cult because he's basically obsessed with everything that has to do with Michael Myers. So I like those two aspects of the film. I think that there are stronger characters than most of the main characters in parts 4 and 5, save for Jamie Lloyd, and Jamie Lloyd does return in this film briefly. She plays a small part. She's not played by Danielle Harris. She's played by somebody else. It's hard for me to say if her part would have been better if Danielle Harris had been playing the part again, and it probably would have been, because she was always really strong in that role, but we'll never know. So Halloween 6, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Do you prefer the producer's cut or the theatrical cut? Comment below, let me know. As always, if you'd like to see here, subscribe, and I am very excited to be doing more Halloween movies. Bye.